I hope Alpha J likes those bamboo shoots I got for him. It's the least I could do for that wonderful channel banner and collab. Alright, on to the next item in my schedule. What do we got? Aw, shit. Really? Do I have to do this? Aw. Well, I did say that, and people are counting on me to talk about GumBomb as much as possible. Better not let them down. If you're wondering why I'm hesitant to talk about today's episode, that's because it's the February GumBomb's first stinker. I struggled watching it the first time, let alone a second time for the sake of this review. I guess there's no use in delaying the inevitable. Let's jump right in. This is the cycle. Richard and the kids take an afternoon trip to Elmore Mall, and as they're about to park, Harold Wilson rams them from behind. Wait, what?
Alright, Richard, I'm gonna need you to move her every hour to keep her in the shade, okay?
Sure thing, Harry. Harold? Mr. Wilson?
Okay, not what I expected. What else does this episode have in store?
You buying new pants for your wife?
What?
Well, she's the one wearing them in your relationship, right? Try these on. I think they're more you.
Oh. Where did this come from? I don't remember Harold being a cocksucker. Well, technically he's always been a cocksucker. He's selfish, he's such an invertebrate that it's a miracle he's even standing on his own. Whatever kind of decision making he has to do, he lumps the responsibility on whoever's with him at any given time, and I think he might be a sex offender to boot. If a guy with an expression like this, and a mustache like this, comes up to you, run the other fucking way! Or call the cops on him, or mace him, or tase him! Harold might have always been a cocksucker, but he was never like this. Last time I checked, the Wattersons and the Wilsons were on a neutral basis. Neither friends nor enemies, just people whose perceptions of each other changed depending on the situation. GumBomb, Darwin, and Tobias are not always the best of friends, if they even are friends, but it's been shown that they can get along just fine when they want to. Same thing with the adults. Richard did let Harold into their house party in the castle. This is quite the shocking swerve, and not in a good way since it contradicts what we know of Harold prior to this episode, as minuscule as it was. But maybe I'm missing something here, and I just haven't gotten to it. Since I love the show so much, I'll give this episode the benefit of the doubt. After Harold messes with Richard one too many times, the kids decide to step in and help their father with his bullying problem.
You need to tell Mom about this.
I can't. Your mom sees me as an average-looking, underachieving slob. It would break her heart to think it was all too good to be true.
No! Richard, go to your wife. I don't care about any excuses you come up with. You of all people should know that she would risk life and limb for your sake. You tell Nicole what the hell is going on and she will go solve the problem for you. And if not, she'll tell you what the proper course of action is anyway. Do that, and I swear, your problems will go away. You've got nothing to lose here. And what's the use? That's not what he's gonna do. So far, this episode is off on the wrong track. To alleviate any aggravation that I might have imparted to you, I'll just quickly say that the next few gags are actually pretty funny.
She means you need to put it into the situation and deal with it in a mature way.
How?
Well, you were old enough to purchase a chainsaw. What? What exactly do you think being mature means? I don't know. R-rated?
Whoa. Chainsaw?
Well, you're old enough to purchase a chainsaw.
Gumball Watterson, future sociopath, confirmed.
Can place a restraining order on Harold Wilson effective immediately. All you need to do is...
And I thought the accountants in the DuckTales reboot were vultures, and not just because they're actual vultures. Sadly, that's about the most praise I'm gonna give this episode. Some of the humor here really hits the mark and can get quite clever, like the gag with the law firm about the greed generally associated with lawyers in real life. But when you think about it, the same can be said for 80% of the series' episodes, so one of the few things this episode has going for it barely saves it. The Wattersons then sit on a park bench to continue their brainstorming, but not without Harold yet again being a complete asswipe to Richard, and they conclude that there's only one way to get back at an asswipe.
You know, I think there's a lesson in all this.
People writing those things are all butt hats.
Okay, I guess there are two lessons in all this. And the second one is, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. But Dad doesn't have it in him to be bad.
Excuse me, what? Rewind!
But Dad doesn't have it in him to be bad.
Bullshit!
Hey, Adam Sandler actually has a use for something. Thank you. Now go back to making Pixels 2, or Jack and Jill 2. Anyway, yeah. Bullshit! Total bullshit! Anais, do you not know your own father? Do you not know what he's done in the past? Doesn't have it in him to be bad, my ass. I know Gumball is mainly an episodic show, but there's no excuse for it to forget its past episodes, especially now with continuity being more important than ever. For God's sakes, the Matchmaker was able to revisit the first season, even acknowledging a character that the writers hate. So what freaking gives? Ugh, whatever. One semi-decent joke later, and the kids take Richard to a psychiatrist so that they can get to the bottom of why he's Harold's portly punching bag. Apparently, it goes back to Richard's adolescent years.
Dear Richard, you have been elected prom king. Make sure to attend the ceremony tomorrow night. Please keep this a secret from your fellow students. This must be a joke. No, wait! It's signed by Principal Brown!
High school. The easiest, most obvious source of drama. Be it in the present, a flashback, or a flash forward, you can never go wrong with a pinch of teenage nonsense to spice things up a smidge.
It's got your signature!
Did you take a good look at this letter? It is literally signed Principal Braun.
But who would do this?
Fuck high school. Richard explains to the psychiatrist a story about how Harold tricked him into thinking that he was prom king, but only now figures out that Harold is the psychiatrist.
How long is it going to take you to realize?
Realize what?
That Harold Wilson is the therapist.
And you three just stood there this entire time and did nothing?
Yes, it was me all along, sucker.
Okay, time out! Am I watching Game of Thrones or something? Or is this an episode of Seinfeld where a good portion of the characters are unabashed sociopathic assholes? What the hell am I even watching right now? No. Let me get my composure, and then I'll properly explain myself so that you can get at least an iota of why this episode bothers me so much. First of all, what do we come to a show like Gumball for? Hell, what is one of the main reasons we come to a book, a song, a movie, or a TV show for? I'll tell you what. Escapism. We turn to any kind of popular media to escape from the hassles of everyday life. Our 9-to-5 job, our schoolwork, our household chores, they are all thrown out the window for a surreal if not temporary frame of time. This is not what we come to Gumball for. Nothing about Harold's actions in this episode is endearing, and it stems from the fact that his actions are a little too close for comfort to reality. It's the polar opposite of an episode like, say, The Wicked. That episode was sadistically, gloriously over the top in its portrayal of Margaret Robinson, from the musical score to the cinematography, and the way she causes and takes pleasure in the misery of others with her highly exaggerated mannerisms is an unironic delight. She's the type of character you love to hate. You don't get that with Harold at all. Between that heinous prank he pulled on Richard during their high school years, his emasculation of Richard in the present day, these actions lend towards an unflatteringly detestable character, if he can even be called that. You just flat out hate him. It's uncomfortable, unpleasant, and infuriating. Now, I'm not going to go on a tirade against the writers for this travesty of an episode. Some of you may see this as white knighting, but I firmly believe that any writer for our cartoon has good intentions, no questions asked. Even people like, say, the writers of Once Upon a Townsville have good intentions.
Whoa, Martin, you can't be serious.
Just take it easy, man. I'm getting there. But good intentions don't automatically equal good execution. The only silver lining in any of this, apart from the bits of comedy I've explained, is making Richard likable. But like with a comedy, the same can be said for previous episodes that tried to make him sympathetic. Again, one of this episode's saving graces is barely a saving grace by virtue of it being attempted in the past. So Harold reveals himself to be the psychiatrist, continues to be a chicken shit towards Richard, and Richard and the kids finally put their plot for revenge in motion. It's a relatively simple plan.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on as I'm fading away. I'm sick of this life, I just wanna scream. How could this happen to me?
Not that one. Which involves a fake blank check for $1 billion and Harold systematically ruining his life with poor lifestyle choices. A bunch of meh-level humor later, Richard's conscience clicks in, and he races to Harold to stop him from destroying his house. Not without Harold getting a skywriter to put up a mocking message in the sky first.
Oh, wait, first you have to see that. Sorry we couldn't fit all of you in there. There wasn't enough space on the canvas.
But, we all know Richard's the bigger man here, and not just literally. He's just gonna take it in stride like he has throughout the goddamn episode, and probably like he will for the rest of his life.
See, kids? That's how adults deal with their problems.
I'm impressed, Dad. But what did you say to him?
I told him if he stacks his dynamite closer together, he'll get a more intensive blast.
Whoa. Damn, Richard. Who knew you had it in you? Payback really is a bitch. But even that's not good enough! If Harold's misery were shown on screen, then yeah, it would be a little better. But as it is, it's not good enough, not cathartic enough, to even out the 10.5 minutes worth of nonsense. It's not enough to save this episode. It was crap. To paraphrase a statement that Doug Walker made in his top 10 worst cliches countdown, at its purest unadulterated form, The Bully is not funny. The Bully drags the plot downwards, has no charming qualities to him to circumvent his dickish behavior, and his very existence paves the way for another slew of worn-out conventions. This effectively means that the Bully is more of a device and less of a character. This episode is a painful example of that. It contradicts the escapist nature of GumBomb. Every little thing here was played disgustingly straight, without the show's typical glorious exaggerations to make this episode even slightly salvageable. Harold embodies Doug Walker's description of the Bully, an unfunny son of a bitch who drags a plot across the ground and leads to a bunch of other stupid and tiresome cliches. Now, to me, the argument about overt mean-spiritedness in fiction is hackneyed. The only real validity that such an argument has is if the mean-spiritedness is horribly out of place, like with putting your hoof down from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, or excessive, like with The Best Burger in the World or Do Me a Solid from Regular Show, in which case I can understand. GumBomb is no stranger to mean-spiritedness, but it's also no stranger to doing mean-spiritedness wrong. Just take a look at the hero, which I consider to be the absolute bottom of the barrel for this show. While the cycle wasn't that catastrophic, it still ultimately, unfortunately, falls into the latter category. And the lapses in logic and complete abandonment of the foundation for Harold's character don't do this episode any favors. Those lapses in logic exist just to keep the plot moving along, even though I think the progression wouldn't change without them. And you could argue that Harold's display of cowardice, selfishness, and disregard in his past appearances are a precursor towards his characterization here, but it still sucked. So, no, I didn't like this episode. The cycle gets a 2 out of 5. Once again, I won't lambast the writers for putting this episode together. Hell, I won't even lambast them for making the hero. Shocker, I know. Their hearts were in the right place. They wanted to put Richard in a sympathetic light and give Harold his own spotlight, like they've done with a bunch of other secondary characters. And it succeeds in some fronts, but so have other episodes centered on Richard, and the execution as a whole leaves a lot to be desired. Maybe in another dimension, it could have worked, but as it stands, this episode failed. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go watch me some OKKO, because that show is fantastic. Check it out if you can. Seriously, it's good stuff. Too bad the scheduling's still garbage though. Boy oh boy, am I gonna have a field day when I finally get around to talking about that.